Hi, I'm Carol O'Mara, horticulture entomologist with Colorado State University Extension in Boulder County. In July, some of the things that we're looking to do in the vegetable garden is to give our plants a little bit of boost with fertilizer so that their growth continues to be nice and strong and lush, and that translates into nice, sweet produce for us. Side dressing is a way of fertilizing your plants by using a dry, granular type fertilizer, so there's no mixing messy buckets of liquid and dumping it all over the plants, and you can get a nice even distribution right around the roots where the plants need it. Not everything in the summer garden needs side dressing or fertilization, so the first thing you have to look at is whether or not your garden is a young one or a mature one. If you've been working the same garden and filling it with organic matter like manures and composts, chances are if it's older than 5 years, you may not even have to side dress in July. Check your plants to see if they have any signs of needing a boost of fertilizer by having slow growth or a little bit of off color to them that isn't associated with disease. But if you have a young garden, one that you've just cut or is less than 5 years old, or if you're still struggling on sandy soils, side dressing is a way of giving fertilizer to certain plants. Corn, for example, is a very heavy feeder of nitrogen, and it can use a nice boost of side dressing at this time of the year. The same thing goes for some of our brassica crops, like our cabbages, and the timing for this happens right as they're starting to form their heads. So right about now is when you want to give a side dressing to them. Onion also needs a side dressing, but stay away from giving plants like beans or peas or lettuces side dressings because they don't typically need it. In the legumes, like the beans and peas, they're already fixing nitrogen and they're able to use it and enriching the soil also. And for some of the leafy crops like the lettuces, well, if they're not done yet, they're still a pretty slow user of nitrogen. But for the ones that are going to appreciate it, corn, you give it a side dressing of fertilizer, 2 different stages. One is when the corn reaches knee high, which is right around now for a lot of the corn types. You can see this corn is nice and ready for a nice side dressing of fertilizer. Corns that are smaller than this, that are not quite there yet, maybe they're a later variety, they're only coming up to about mid-calf, so they don't need a side dressing of fertilizer right now. The second time that you want to side dress your corn is right when it's in tassel. That means that we have the flags up top and now the silken tassels are coming out of the small ears, and this is the exact moment that you want to go ahead and time your side dressings of fertilizer around your corn. Other plants that will really appreciate a little boost from side dressing are going to be your tomatoes, your peppers, your eggplants. So let's go take a look at exactly how you side dress your vegetable garden and how much you have to use when you're doing so. If you're trying to side dress an entire row instead of individual plants, it's really pretty simple. For a plant as large as corn, you want to stay about 6 inches away from the main stem, which in this case is going to be right down the center of the row of this stand of corn. So we're going to keep it a little bit of a shallow hoeing just to dig a trench all the way along. All we have to do is just dig the trench, and then we dump the fertilizer right in there. You want to make sure you cover it up. Again, we don't want any splashing back, so you take your fertilizer, you sprinkle just a little in, and then cover it over. And you're ready to move on. When you're looking at timing of side dressing your tomatoes or peppers or eggplant, the time is really when the plant starts coming into bloom or the fruits are smaller than about 1 inch in diameter. So this plant is ready for a little bit of side dressing to give it a boost, and here's how you do it. You take a hoe and you remove any weeds in the area. You don't want to feed them, they're going to get out of control for you. Then approximately 6 inches from the stem of the plant, that's where we're going to go ahead and side dress. So I'm just generally measuring right around the drip line of this plant and cutting a small trench. It doesn't have to be very deep, it's about 2 inches deep in and around the plant itself. So with this hoe, we're just making a nice little depression. And I'm doing this on all sides of the plant. With tomatoes, I can get all the way around them, keeping it at right around 6 inches. Smaller plants, you can get a little closer. You can get it to about 4 inches. Take care that you're not digging through the irrigation at all. So we're trying to get under there. We're not disturbing the root system, but we are clearing the soil out of the way. Then you want to take a look at your granular fertilizer. The back of the bag is really going to be where all the action is at. This is where it's going to tell you exactly how much you put down. You don't want to over-fertilize this way, otherwise you can burn the roots. So we're going to be going with just a small application, just a light amount, dribbled into the trench that we've dug, around the plant, and then we simply close it over. Covering the fertilizer is really important. You want to make sure that none of it is left exposed in case it gets splashed back up onto the foliage, where that intensity of fertilizer can really burn the leaves. So make sure you cover it. And that's how you side dress.